Hey everybody, this is Brent Fitz from Slash. Slash featuring Myles, Kennedy, and the Conspirators. It's a long name. And you're watching Ornella. You're listening, you're seeing Ornella? She's right there. And and this is Comebackstage. So join us.
Well, hi, Brent. Thank you very much for your time. We're rolling, yes. Welcome to Berlin. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm tired, but we're good. We just did sound check and we played last night in Hamburg. So,
How was it?
well, it was amazing. We love Germany. Well, we've been in Europe. We love Europe. We love everywhere over here. It seems like the love of rock music has never waned. But sometimes in the United States, we question if the fans have gone to some other genres a little bit, like country music or pop music.
Okay.
But every time we play over in Europe, we're always pleasantly happy that, like we have a new record.
Yeah.
We play a lot of new songs and people know all the lyrics and they love, they still buy records and that. So, and especially in this part of the world. So Germany's been awesome. So, yeah, it's been great.
Nice. Rock and roll is not dead.
It's never been dead. I don't know who said that, but,
Bullshitting around.
right? Right.
Would you say you're living the dream?
The cliche term, right? It was funny when Slash came up with the title for that because I think it was more of a tongue-in-cheek comment on the way what was going on. When we made the record in Los Angeles, where we recorded it, we spent a lot of time watching CNN, and it might have been poisoning our brains as we were in between recording songs, watching CNN going, what is going on? So it was kind of like maybe a way of saying living the dream, like, hey, at least we're living the dream of playing music and all the outside other stuff that's going on. You know what? It is a blessing to play music. It's a blessing to be over here in Europe on tour. We've been on tour for 2.5 months, I guess.
Quite a long
It's a pretty good lifestyle, I will say, to get to see the world.
Definitely.
And, play with people I really enjoy working with. And I've been playing with Slash and the guys for almost 10 years now.
Wow.
So, to have a band that everyone gets along and we enjoy
That's great.
the lifestyle is fantastic. That sounds like living the dream.
And you've been working like with really big names like Vince Neil, Gene Simmons, and all of them. And now with Slash, how do you choose the people you like to work with?
Sometimes they choose me because I've always wanted to work with people I respected musically or, looked up to. And part of growing up where I started, which was in a small city in Canada, the idea for me was to go to those places. And, where I was from, I grew up playing with my friends in my neighborhood, but I would read in magazines about Kiss and Motley Crue and then later Guns N' Roses. So when I moved to Los Angeles, that sort of like opened up some opportunities to play with those people. But,
Made it.
a lot of times, I don't know if I made it, but at least I got to work, how did I start working with Slash?
Yeah.
Well, he called me. That's the honest truth. And it was probably because I had worked with Alice Cooper and some other artists. So to get a phone call from someone who you respect is quite a cool thing.
Yeah, it is. And how did you get into playing drums back then?
Well, I think you just, a lot of people, there's a moment in time, maybe you see something on television or for me, I did start playing piano because my parents, my parents got me into playing music, although probably not the instrument I wanted to start with, but I'm glad that they did start me on piano at 5. And then I discovered Kiss, like all the other kids in my, same age group. I'm 48, I'll be 49 very soon. So in 1977, that was a pivotal year for Kiss and Star Wars.
Yeah.
Those two things were very influential for a 7-year-old kid. Action figures and seeing like superhero characters. So Kiss was like and the Star Wars whole theme, it was sort of like the same thing at the time. So when you're really young and you see those larger than life things, and the fact that the Kiss music was very catchy and it was sort of like my Beatles back in the day.
Yeah.
So that band really sort of catapulted me into the love for loving music and then wanting to be, I don't know if you have a revelation one day and you say, well, I want to do that too.
I believe in that.
I think Yeah, I think you have to believe in it to to eventually be able to do it. I must have said, you know, I'm going to do this one day, and then it's just you have to figure out, well, how do you make a living? That's the other hard thing, is you can love music, but then how do you actually make a career? So I've been doing this for 40 years now, and I don't think it's something that I consider a job, but I love what I'm doing. So I think it's working out.
It does. And what do you think? Where would you work right now if this wouldn't have worked out for you?
Oh, I'd own a coffee shop.
Yeah.
Only because I love going out on tour and playing music, but I also love discovering and trying out coffee around the world. So that's my other little secret.
I understand that.
Yeah. So I'd probably own a coffee shop.
And since 2010 you're playing with Slash, you said. How did you guys come together like it is right now? Because Slash called you, and how did it work back then?
Well, it usually starts with I'm trying to remember how you know what happened is, okay, Velvet Revolver and Slash, they were they weren't really, I think they were either breaking up, or Slash was looking for an outlet to be creative, and he made a solo record. So when he was doing a solo record that had a whole bunch of different singers, I think he wanted to put a band together. But I'm not sure what, I'm not speaking for him, but I wasn't sure what he was going to do at the time. But I just got this nice random call saying, hey, I'm thinking about putting a band together, and a bunch of people recommended you.
Cool.
And so I came down to jam with him in LA. And it was before I had even met Myles Kennedy. Okay. But he had considered Myles, you know, like the perfect singer who could sing his entire catalog, Velvet Revolver, Guns N' Roses, some of his other solo stuff. And he had sang 2 really awesome songs on Slash's soon-to-be-released first solo record in 2010. So then we just kind of like started to jam, and it's like, well, this is hopefully going to be a band. But I didn't know, is Slash going to play 1 or 2 shows in LA, maybe on a TV show? Is he going to do a couple festivals? I had no idea. He didn't even know, probably. Okay. And I actually brought in Todd Kearns as a recommendation for the band. And then it just really quickly ramped up into a full-on band. But it kind of was a bit of an accident, because I don't know if Slash really had the full game plan of, you know, I'm going to put this great new band together and go on tour. I think it was just like, we'll see what happens. Yeah. I've got Myles Kennedy, and I'll maybe support some of these songs. And luckily, after touring for a year, it had a really nice, you know, gel. The band felt good, and Slash was starting to come up with some ideas with us for songs. And I mean, if you put it together now, here we are 10 years later, we've made lots of music together and released lots of records. So somehow it clicked. Yeah.
And you released Living the Dream, talking about records lately. And how can I imagine the creation process of it?
You know what's cool is we took a break. So the last 2, the Apocalyptic Love and the World on Fire records, were sort of built on some ideas that came together like on tour, writing songs during sound check, Slash coming up with a cool riff, and then us all sort of getting together and fleshing out some ideas. So those both records came off a tour, and go in the studio and then make the record, and then, you know, go tour again. Although Myles Kennedy still had some Alter Bridge. He would release a record in between with his band Alter Bridge, and we made all that work. So what happened more recently was a little band called Guns N' Roses, where Slash went on tour with them for a very long extended time, but also with full intention of coming back eventually to Slash and the Conspirators and doing new music. And we had wrote a bunch of songs on the World on Fire tour that are now the ones on Living the Dream. Okay. But we Slash had put a lot of those ideas together, and then we kind of let them be on the back burner, because Slash was going to do the Guns N' Roses stuff. But what was cool was we all had that break, and then we came back very naturally and quickly. Slash said, hey, I want to get together with you guys, and we'll work on those songs again. And we were all like, well, that sounds great. Cool. We'll do that. And we were all doing other bands. I was playing with Brad Whitford from Aerosmith, and I joined Gene Simmons' band. There was a lot going on in between, but somehow it all came together. So we put a record together with a little break, and it seems like everybody really likes the new record. And I'm not speaking for myself. I love it, because I was really happy the way it came out. But it seems like...
It sounds great.
Yeah.
Totally. The fans love it.
That's all I can say, is it seems like it's been getting a very unanimous, you know, thumbs up. So it just came together, again, a little bit of break. was good for the band.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And what was the main idea behind this record? Do you have like a concept in mind, or was it like just randomly good songs?
Probably no concept, you know, like tighten up some of the arrangements. The last record had 17 songs, which was a little bit more of an ambitious, longer record. So this one was a little tighter. I remember Slash saying, I only want to put maybe 10 songs on the record. I think we put 12. So a little more concise.
Yeah.
Just a good old, you know, straight up rock and roll record, and that's what it is.
It is. Let's get to the songs. So can you tell me the story behind Boulevard of Broken Hearts?
Boulevard of Broken Hearts. Well, that was written later. I think that was one of the last things that Slash came up with, and it shouldn't be qualified by what the value of the song is by the album listings. So Call of the Wild is song 1. Boulevard of Broken Hearts is the last song. So because it's the last song on the record doesn't mean it's considered like a throwaway. Yeah. It's actually one of the strongest songs. I love it. But I'm glad you like it. But I knew it was going to be a good melodic, catchy song that maybe people would like. But I think the flow of the record, everything had to have a little bit of a, because I think we all still in the band pay attention to, and because we grew up loving vinyl and how side 1 would have a different feel of side 2. Yeah. You know, if you listen to like my old Kiss records that I grew up on, Love Gun, you know, side 1 was different than side 2, and Appetite for Destruction. You know, it's just a different mentality, and I know Slash is very conscious of that. So Boulevard of Broken Hearts is one of the strongest songs. It just, I think that's the attest to how powerful it is we put it at the last song, and hopefully it has enough weight of the first song. Yeah.
And who's the girl behind Lost Inside the Girl?
That's always a Myles Kennedy question. I leave all those lyrics and the storytelling to Myles. Okay. You know, some of the songs are just definitely deeply rooted in his experiences. So, and sometimes the songs have a different title until Myles gives it the lyrical content. So, Lost Inside the Girl, I don't even remember the original title, but we would come up with a crazy title until Myles wrote lyrics. Okay. So it probably had 2 titles. So, but you'll have to ask Myles the secret behind it. So basically, you first write the music and then Myles comes up with the lyrics, or how can I imagine that? A lot of times we've been good that way, where the riff, a Slash riff, will sort of like entice where the song is going to go, and not necessarily a whole melodic thing that Myles has come up with. So Slash is generally the nucleus of where it starts, and then Todd Kearns and I, as the rhythm section, sort of building a little bit of something around it, and then we let Myles sit with it and, hey, is this cool? Do you like this? Can you work on some melody stuff with it? And some stuff kind of he goes, I wasn't really vibing on that, but you know, if he vibes on it, which is usually the case, he always comes up with something great, and then it turns into like, oh, now I know what the song is, because even with a melody on guitar and, you know, some drums and some bass, you've got that's the musicality side of the song, but the melody is still the most important part. We know that, you know, and so once Myles puts that on top, you kind of go, oh, now I got the song, you know. So it's so fascinating to hear. But it's cool, right? It's like pieces of a puzzle. Yeah. And in the end, it all makes sense somehow. It's a funny how, like, we never plan, you know, we don't, you know, some bands like argue over stuff. Some bands spend a lot of time, you know, just dissecting and ripping stuff apart and overanalyzing. Seems like in our band, we just let things lie, and they have a good, like, it feels good, so let's just put it out there. It seems to work. It's simple, yeah. It does. And you've been mentioning it before. You have a lot of different projects going on. How do you guys deal with all this? I mean, it's a lot of organization, I can imagine. I like that. I like playing with lots of different artists, and it's made it great for working. Like I said, when we took that break from this band, it almost brought us a renewed energy together. So for me to go and, like, after a Slash tour, I'll go play. Todd and I have another band called Took. We work together. It's another cool thing. And then we also have been playing with Bruce Kulick from Kiss, who I have had a long history with for many years. Todd and I work with Bruce. We've been on these Kiss cruises the last couple of years playing Kiss songs. Yeah. So there's a lot of set lists in our heads that kind of get put into the forefront. Oh, we got to learn these 30 songs again. You're like a human jukebox or something. It's a bit like that. But you know, it started in the 80s when I was growing up playing like clubs early on and playing other people's music and getting my own vocabulary together. So playing other songs by, stuff that I didn't necessarily write, I enjoy that. So, to go and do something different, it always keeps us, razor sharp. So I look forward to, it's just, when you think you're going to get comfortable, then things start to fall apart. So, and even with Slash, like we changed the set list and we're throwing in different songs. This is the only band I've ever had the pleasure of playing in where all the songs we record on a record, they get played. They don't just like, oh, it's just going to be on the album. We never play it live. So, of all the music we've wrote, how many songs that might be with Slash and the Conspirators, all of them have been played live at some point. So it's pretty cool that, the music is nothing is disposable. But yeah, as far as the other set list in my head, it's a never-ending, jukebox.
And what would be like your personal dream to still achieve or to make come true musically scene? Someone to work with, or what are your goals?
Work with? Probably to spend a moment sharing something musically exchanging with like a Paul McCartney, just those architects of the entire rock and roll industry, like Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, a lot of those bands that sort of invented what we all do and copy now. We're all just trying to be, those other bands. So I would say working with someone, those really top. Obviously Slash is he's the greatest.
He is.
There's not many replaceable people there, as far as an iconic musician and the guitar. So that's an amazing opportunity just to play with Slash and make new music. That's the important thing. It's not just to get to play and we're friends and we in the same band, but to work on new ideas and so I'm always excited if I the more heroes that I get to work with, the better.
And if you should convince a young person to listen to rock music, which song would you show him or her and why?
Which song? Well, I would say just, I love the Beatles, but the Beatles are, I wouldn't say the necessary, like, I know people that just don't love the Beatles, but,
What?
It's true.
Seriously?
I think you could pick some, like, just the Beatles. Go to the Beatles catalog, start there, and work your way up to now. There's a lot of stuff in between, but that's probably my easiest answer.
And one song?
One song?
Yeah, if you need to pick one song, the song.
I don't know, like it's, what song I love? It has no lyrics, but it's a Pink Floyd song called A Great Gig in the Sky. Okay. And it's a very left of center choice for me, but I love that piece of music. On a rock I just love that song. That's a strange, yeah.
And we came to the last question. So if you could have kind of a fantasy dinner with 3 persons of your choice, it doesn't matter if alive, dead, whatever. Who is at your table? Who would you invite?
Fantasy dinner. Well, does it have to be musicians? Because I do love sports people. Like Wayne Gretzky is my favorite hockey player. See? Well, I'm Canadian, so I have... I see. My icons are not just going to be musicians, but hockey players. I don't know. Wayne Gretzky at the table, and Paul McCartney, and I don't know, like... that's a crazy question.
You have 1 seat left.
Oh, man. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I don't know. You caught me off guard.
Okay.
I need another person.
Your wife, maybe.
My wife?
Would be nice.
I enjoy dinner with my wife all the time. I don't know. Have to be somebody of influence that I'd really like to pick their brain. Probably, I would have loved to have met, I was into like astronauts when I was a kid. Okay. And Buzz Aldrin is still alive. He's one of the first men on the moon. I love to sit with Buzz Aldrin and chat with him. See, there's something. Interesting. It's usually things that when you were young that influenced you. So true. Hockey players, music, and I was into astronauts when I was a kid. There's my 3 choices. There Perfect. You go. Yeah, cool.
Brendan, thank you very much for your time. The last words are yours.
Oh my gosh. Well, thanks for listening. I am a babbler, so I just drank a lot of coffee, but hopefully, hopefully some young aspiring musicians can like I always looked up to other musicians, and I always loved playing with people older than me and people that obviously impacted on me. So if there are young up-and-coming musicians that can benefit from hearing a story that I shared about me being influenced by my heroes as well. So that would be the most satisfying, is to have an influence on some up-and-coming musicians.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.